Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 138 and I'm continuing stories from 1001 Arabian Nights. Tonight I'm telling the story that the next man told at the fountain. The man with the two black dogs. So the genie, after having heard the story of the old man and the hind, decided he'd like to hear the story that second man had to tell. He was quite entertained, and so the man began. He said, "I am one of three brothers, and these two black dogs happen to be my two brothers. At one point in time, when my father had died, he left us all an equal amount of money. He left each one of us 1,000 sequins. And with that, we all set up shop in the town where we lived as merchants, buying and selling merchandise. Now, it was only 2 months or so into our endeavor when my eldest brother came and told me that he was going to sell all that he had and go off to trade in foreign lands in hopes of making more money than he could here. I tried to dissuade him, but I failed, and in a short amount of time, he left. I did not see him. I did not see him for a year. He had purchased goods with which he was going to trade in the country where he was heading. That was the last that I had seen of him. After about a year, one day a man that looked nothing more than a beggar came to my shop and said, "Good day." And I replied, "Good day." And then the man turned to me and asked, "Is it really true that you do not recognize me at all?" I looked more closely and I realized that indeed it was my brother. Well, I immediately brought him into the shop, and then I asked, "How did you fare?" Well, he turned to me and he said, "How could you ask such a question? What you see before me is all that I have. Don't remind me of what happened by asking me to repeat the story of my loss." Well, when I heard this, I closed my shop and I gave my brother my absolute and full attention. I took him to the baths and had him cleaned and shaved and his hair cut. I gave him the best of my robes. I checked my accounts, my finances, and found that in the time that he had been gone, I had doubled what our father had given me. And so I said, "Brother, don't worry. Here, I have enough to get you started again. We'll split what I have." And so I gave him 1,000 sequins. With this, my brother reopened his shop and we lived, well, much as we had before. Well, it wasn't long before my youngest brother or younger brother came and told the two of us, my older brother and me, that, well, he was planning to go off and trade in foreign lands as best both of us could. To dissuade him, it was of no use at all. He was determined. And in a short amount of time, he sold what he had. He bought goods that he felt he would be able to trade in this foreign land and made his voyage. He returned in a year's time, much in the same way that my older brother had. And seeing that I had done well again, I shared with him 1,000 sequins, and he opened shop and began to trade once again. Well, it wasn't long after that, but both my brothers came to me and proposed that we together go off and trade in foreign lands. I looked at them and said, what good has any of that done for either one of you? Both of you returned looking like beggars. No, I will not go, I told them. Well, they pestered me and pestered me, year after year, day after day, week after week, month after month. Finally, I gave in. 5 years they had pestered me to go off and trade in foreign lands, and I finally conceded, and we began to make preparations. As they went out and began to look for things to buy, it became clear that they had no more money. They had spent it all. Well, once again, I looked at my accounts and saw that I had plenty. So I told my two brothers that I would share what I had with them. I had at that point 6,000 sequins. So I gave each one of them 1,000, kept 1,000 for myself, and the other 3,000 I buried in a corner of my house. Wow. We gathered our goods and we set sail. We landed at a place where we did quite well in selling the merchandise that we had brought. And after we had collected our funds, we repurchased or purchased goods from there that we would take back to our land. And in so doing, hopefully double or triple our profits. We had everything loaded into the vessel that we were chartering to take back. And we were just about to leave. I was down on the shore, and a beautiful woman came up to me. Beautiful, but very poorly dressed. She took my hand and kissed it, and she begged that I would marry her. I had no interest in marrying her, but she pleaded in such a gentle way, told me that she would make me the best of wives. And finally, I conceded. Well, we were married. I had beautiful clothing purchased for her. And as soon as we had married, and as soon as we were well equipped for the trip, we set sail. Some days passed, and in those days, my brothers, they grew jealous of my good fortune. And one night, while we were sleeping, they threw the two of us overboard. Well, Scheherazade stopped the tale there. And of course, the Sultan agreed for her to continue the story the next evening. And Dinarzada would be there as well. And of course, the Grand Vizier was as delighted as any father could be that Scheherazade had lived to see another day. Okay, join with me tomorrow and we'll see what happens to the merchant and his wife, now thrown into the sea.